Man, it's like your favorite artist, Dido.
Thought it was Ditto.
Yeah, whatever.
Welcome back to episode 65, Pints and Politics.
Yeah, man, every other week type of thing nowadays in the off session. Feels like we got a lot of material and ground to cover.
Too much.
I know, man.
We got to thank our sponsor first.
Yeah.
Comer Distributing for this week's brew is Jam Session Pale Ale by Noda.
Yeah. That's a locally brewed beer.
Yeah.
What you think?
Charlotte. I like it. It's a light beer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's got that blonde flavor. It's not too hoppy. So,
Yeah. It's
good
it's
beer.
For
Always cool artwork.
For folks who share Guffey's love for Bud Light, they will enjoy this. It's a refined taste. It's got a little hoppy on the finish, but it's not too much. It's not IPA hoppy.
No.
So
Reminds me of a fat tire.
Yeah. I think this is a good sort of moderate, mild weather, is like what we're having. Good beer. That's why we selected it. So yeah, again, thanks to Comer Distributing for supporting the show. Episode 65, Gary Zimmerman.
Yeah, big old offensive tackle.
Again, we're in the offensive lineman numbers right now for the most part. This guy played in the 80s and 90s, one of the few folks who were part of the NFL 80s and 90s all-decade teams. That's pretty wild.
He blocked for John Elway.
Absolutely.
So you've got to give respect for that.
That's right. So, and me being a big Denver Bronco fan, John Elway was the reason I became a fan. And to this day, it's sort of been a curse because they have been sucking for a while since Peyton Manning left. So, hey, all Broncos fan knows what I'm talking about.
But they know how to jump on a fumble.
That's right. Thank you, Cleveland. Thank you. So excited to talk about a lot of issues on this show. We are going to have some special guests from the Alliance Defending Freedom in Sarah Beth Nolan and Tanya Shelnut. They have been nice enough to come by, share some of what they're fighting for, what they're dealing with.
Privacy in girls' spaces.
Yep. And we've had a recent federal district court case in the Fourth Circuit, of which South Carolina belongs, along with North Carolina and the state of Virginia, that has impacted Berkeley County schools. In particular, they had one individual who was identifying their gender that was not their biological sex, and the Fourth Circuit tended to agree. So we'll talk to them about that and many more things, right? Everything in between, because
the good old Fourth Circuit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and when we talk about privacy, when we talk about women's sports, girls' spaces, whether it be a locker room or a bathroom in a school, also we'll talk about prisons,
yes.
Right? So this thing seems to be a nexus of a lot of events or a lot of things. It's just got a lot of tentacles. So we'll bring them on and talk about some of those things. But before we get to that, man, how was your week? What you been up to?
Man, it's been wide open.
And again, when I say week, I mean the last 2 weeks, because I saw you last week. We were at, what, DOT?
Yes. That was in Columbia.
Yep.
Yeah, I forget about that.
I know. Had Justin Powell, the director of DOT, come talk to us. Also opened the floor up to public input.
Yep. So I started off the week on Saturday, week before last, with doing the first Tech Talk that Moms for Liberty sponsored and Heritage Action was a part of. I did a little bit of writing, and then Monday went down to Russell Fry's Freedom Fry, which ran into you there.
Hey, folks, a little side note, we're going to tell you a little anecdotal personal story on this one of which you and I will enjoy. There's a lot of folks at this Freedom Fry, but one in particular is a local. He's a friend of ours, our very own Senator Wes Clymer. And folks, if you know Wes Clymer, and you know myself and Representative Guffey, if you were going to pick out of a lineup who's dressed casually, it would not be our Senator Wes Clymer.
No.
Right? I mean, you and I are showing up in shorts and golf shirt to a lot of things, or pants and a golf shirt or button up, and he is in
usually a suit.
Jacket, right?
Yeah.
You won't catch him without a jacket. And which I respect, right? He's our senator. He's the
one that told me keep a jacket in your car.
And so it just warmed my heart that when I walked into that room And I had a jacket on. You had a jacket on. And Senator Clymer does not have a jacket on.
Now, granted, I drove the struggle bus down from Columbia.
Yeah, right.
And which is about a 2.5 hour drive. By the time I got there, it was so hot, my clothes were soaked.
So
I had to run
folks,
into
the struggle
outlet
bus
mall.
does not have a seat. And so I remember you and I talking like, hey, man, you want to meet up before or whatever? You're like, man, I got to buy a new shirt. And I was like, why? And sure enough, you told me that
Run into Banana Republic, grab some linen, and I'm good to go.
So you have enough time to buy a whole new set of clothes. And Clymer doesn't bring the jacket.
Yeah.
Again, just made my evening.
But I have my jacket.
Yeah. And so that was a great experience. So I'd never been. Had you ever been before?
No, I've never been to his Freedom Pride, but I'll tell you, Russell has a lot of support, not only from the president, but across the state.
Oh, yeah, man.
We had a lot of our statewide offices running. Our congressional members that were running
and the governor's
there.
candidates were all there.
Yep.
So it was good to hear from all of them. Our very own Congressman Ralph Norman was there. You know, he's seeking the office of the governor. Nancy Mace was there.
Alan Wilson, Hamavette.
Yep. So it was good to hear from all of them. Good to hear from Senator Graham.
Yes.
Man, we even heard from our Secretary of State, Hammond. We heard from Treasurer Loftus. I mean, man, there was a lineup there. But the main event was Scott Jennings from CNN.
Yeah.
Who, you know,
I thought the best part was Russell doing his Trump impersonation.
It was. It's
always great.
Folks, if you have not heard Congressman Russell Fry do his Trump impression, next time you see
wonderful.
him, if you do get to ever meet him in person, ask him that, hey, I heard on Pints and Politics.
He's going to hate us for saying that.
No, he's not. No, he's not. But that was a great event.
We came back Tuesday, had the insurance ad hoc committee. Yep. And then Wednesday we had the DOT ad hoc modernization committee.
Yeah, and that's going to be a process, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we heard from Justin Powell. We heard some of the challenges that he runs into. I tell you, when he talked about just the process of whether it's widening a road, turn lane on a road, any sort of modification to a road, or building a new road, the 46 entities that gets touched by that process, I tell you, I'd get frustrated, I think.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It's the bureaucracy. Everyone can throw up and say that, we need to do this, we need to do that. I mean, to me, the worst idea we heard was Lieutenant Governor being over DOT, but that's just me. I mean, you want somebody that has the experience, that is their wheelhouse, to make those decisions, not someone. I mean, let's say
you want a professional.
You've got experience with land clearing, so you might be a little bit more qualified.
Yeah, construction in general. Those concepts, that industry.
And me a little bit with landscaping. But let's take someone who's only worked in insurance or that is an attorney.
Yeah.
How much experience do they have with what it takes to build a road?
Correct.
And if you're changing every 4 years, which we have the run for governor and lieutenant governor, how effective can that be?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
people are worried about their job security. People are worried about how the change is going to come. That pendulum is going to swing every single time. As opposed to we've got a new Secretary of Transportation, Justin Powell. I think that we should let him get in there, make the improvements, and there's lots of things that we need to do.
Yeah.
But this is just informational.
Well, and I got into on Twitter. I got into some conversations about, again, I know there's some members who aren't involved with this DOT committee.
And there's 20 of us? I mean, it's a big committee.
It's pretty substantial. And, some pot shots are being taken. That's easy. That comes with the territory. I'm fine with that. But we do, if we want to have a serious policy discussion about how do we get ahead of the curve, how do we start planning for a 2050 South Carolina.
Considering we're 30 years behind, which we heard, on our bridges.
We've got to have serious discussions, and that requires serious people. And so when we have these discussions, folks, a lot of this is going to be, there's an educational component to it, not just to members, but also to the public. We got to understand, when we pass this tax reform, taking our personal income tax from 6 to 299, or what was it, 349 first, and then and then due to economic triggers as the years come, as time passes, it ratchets down to zero. I start getting pot shots from some members in the House who sometimes we disagree with. And folks got to understand that the tax structure, whether it's funding public infrastructure like roads and bridges or it's funding education, it's going to be different, right? So a lot of times folks want to point to Florida or Texas when it comes to funding roads, and they got the best roads and this, that, and the other. And all of these things are sort of intertwined, and that's why I bring up the tax reform issue, is because someone brought up Florida. And I said, yeah, but Florida has a gas and diesel tax that's 33% higher than ours, right? And so what you're saying is, would you support, because right now we tax, I think it's around 28 cents a gallon on gasoline. Florida's at 38 cents. So are you suggesting that we raise gas taxes?
Gas tax.
And
now, granted, we handle a lot more roads in Florida too.
Yeah, 100%.
We have the fourth largest road
system,
network
right,
in the entire country.
And again, it's so. If you want to be serious and have these discussions, let's have them. But sometimes I find Twitter is not the place to have them. It's more in the committee rooms when we're having some of these discussions, as our ad hoc committee's doing. But so again, social media has a lane. It's not to have serious policy discussions. as I try, I struggle.
I've even kind of stayed off of a lot of the socials just because I've been so busy.
Yeah.
But I seen one last night that just it cracked me up. And it was someone called Nancy Mace a hoe. And Fitz replied and Will Folks replied and said, "Faux show." And it just cracked me up. I was like,
oh, wow.
Perfect response there, like with the question mark.
Yeah,
but it was just, that's about the extent of my social media in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. But so I do think we shouldn't be afraid of the policy discussions, right? Like you and I are not about to suggest let's raise taxes.
Some aren't wanting to have a discussion. Some are waiting for you to say something wrong just so they can attack.
Well, and we've seen that too. But I do think some members, you know, when we talk about, say, reducing the personal income tax, say as Florida, Tennessee, or Texas, they don't have personal income tax, but they're in a different situation.
They're taxing electricity.
And in Florida's case, they have a massive tax revenue coming from tourists.
Yeah.
Right? So folks who don't even live there pay for their roads, bridges, education, whatever it is.
And a lot of that's gas tax because that is people that are coming in.
Yeah.
And that is
so
outsiders paying for the infrastructure.
All this to say, look, folks, you have serious people at the table trying to solve serious problems. South Carolina is our state. It's our home. It is unique in of itself. And so we are looking at this, you know, holistically from let's take a step back. Let's look at how we're doing things and let's try to look at in 2050, what's this state going to look like? How many people are going to be here? Is mass transit the best way? How do we, you know, sort of the funding mechanisms? Do we need to retool and adapt those?
And the growth that we have had.
It's historic.
So, and not to mention that we are now number one in U-Haul rentals, which means probably next year we'll be listed as number one instead of number 4 for fastest growing.
Well, and, you know, a lot of times, you know, the C funds question came up.
Yeah.
You know, and where you have donor counties versus...
And York County is a donor county.
Yeah. And
56 cents per dollar that we get to keep to go to our roads. And, you know, of course, that's going to our council. And, you know, that's another problem that we have is the way that we distribute the C funds.
Correct. But
this committee is to study all of this and then try to offer a solution or a path forward.
100%. So again, folks, this process has just begun. I think we already have another committee meeting in
2 weeks in Greenville.
2 weeks in Greenville. And again, that allows the Greenville locals to come and visit with us, talk to us.
Bring the equipment down to Greenville and let's go ahead and record there.
We should. So look forward to that ongoing work in that effort to make our roads and bridges better.
And then Friday, after we left that, I ended up having to go down to Charleston, and I spoke at the South Carolina School Board Association Law Conference, which ended up doing the keynote on the final day of Sunday. I have been slammed since then with school districts wanting me to come out and reach their areas, their counties that they represent. But it went very well. It's just tough. Saturday, I don't want to say a mental breakdown, but Saturday I needed to relax because I've just been going. And
recharge.
Yes.
I tell you.
Somewhat. I just slept a lot.
Yeah, that is the essence of recharging.
So being in Charleston with a hurricane warning and all the rain, and I just slept a lot.
Yep. I hear you.
Well, what about your weeks?
Man, just been busy.
Trying to catch up work.
Mine is always juggling sort of the demands of the office with the demands of my private work.
Yes.
Right. And then on top of that,
stripping ain't easy, folks.
Yeah, that's right. Keeping this bod up. No, but in that, and then also balancing family obligations, being at kids, sporting events, things of that nature. Just the normal.
Yeah, I drove back. I spoke in Kershaw on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Drove up just to catch Callahan's practice, and then took off down to Charleston the next day.
Yeah. And another thing I do want to highlight is, folks, if you don't know, the highest civilian honor that you can be awarded is called the Order of the Palmetto, and that is given to a few folks year to year that have put service, whether it's to community, to your country, to your state, whatever. And, there's an application for it. You get nominated, folks write reference letters. And we had the opportunity here in York County to have one of our very own awarded the Order of the Palmetto just yesterday. I happen to, we go to the same church together. Him and I have served on a couple of committees in years past. And you folks may know him as our York County councilman from years back. But David Vipperman was awarded by our governor, Henry McMaster, yesterday, the Order of the Palmetto. And it was great to visit with him and his family, see them in that environment. Him and I see each other on Sundays, and we say hello and all those things. And again, we've served on some committees together, know him and his wife, Clue. But I didn't know his children, so I got to visit with them yesterday. Our Senator Wes Clymer was there. A lot of our church family was there. But just to hear the story of David's life, of how growing up, serving in the military, going to Vietnam, then he served in many different ways here in York County and Rock Hill. And then also
he has servant's heart.
And then he serves on the ETV board, which I learned I didn't even know this about David.
I didn't even know we had an ETV board.
Until we went down our freshman term.
Yeah.
They were looking for a CEO, and that's when I ran into David. I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he tells me he was on the board. So anyway, a lot of facets to this man, a life well lived, and in sort of the stage of his life where he is retired. It's great to see. It's a guy that you want to be like. You know what I mean? He's quiet, he's soft-spoken, very humble, but he just goes about his day serving.
Yeah.
And that's great that those folks a lot of times get overlooked. And it was great yesterday to see a gentleman like David Vipperman, proud that he's from our area, that has served our community well, be recognized by our governor yesterday.
And as civil servants.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say politicians. That is often the thing that makes us want to continue doing it. You get involved because you want to represent your community, you want to make things better, but then you start dealing with all the BS that comes along with it.
The politics of it sometimes.
Yeah, and often all it takes is for someone to just tell you, good job.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
And keep
if
doing
you get
what you're
like 1 out of 100,
yeah.
It seems like you can take those 99 bullets.
Most people aren't going to contact you just to say good job.
Yeah, right.
They're calling to complain about something, or you didn't see things the same way, or why didn't you jump on this? Like, they might be complaining. Why didn't you appoint me to the ETV board? And it's like, I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, right. So it was great to be a part of that celebration, right?
Yeah.
So enjoyed doing that.
I couldn't make it.
Yeah, but I did take old Ricky down there with me because he
Nice.
goes to church with me. So I made him run down there. And it was funny. We were down there, and the ceremony was only 30, 45 minutes, and we were done. And he was like, man, So like, we drove all the way down here, and I mean,
Just for that?
the drive was longer than the actual thing. I said, "Hey, you have just seen a snapshot of some
Welcome
of
to
what
Columbia.
public service is about." You know, so anyway, no, it was a great opportunity to, like I said, recognize a humble servant of the state. So again, congratulations to David Vipperman.
I think that mower might be too loud.
We got good mics, baby. And getting that recognition of the Order of the Palmetto. So up ahead, we do have Tanya Shellnut and Sarah Lee Nolan of the Alliance Defending Freedom to talk about some important issues going on, not just in our state, but in our nation. And then lastly, but not least, college football's here, baby.
And I seen the Gamecocks are ranked in the top 15.
What? What do you mean? Like, you like questioning that, man? 17-14 Tigers. Hey, so yeah, we're gonna start talking about the college football season, not just Carolina and Clemson, but we're gonna start trying to pick 5 games because online sports gambling has been pre-filed, and we're talking about it. And I think maybe you and I both support the freedom for folks to be able to sports gamble online.
I've seen there's some bills that's not legalizing gambling, but legalizing whatever the term is for like fantasy sports.
They call it online sports wagering.
No, it's a word I didn't know the meaning of.
Yeah, wagering. But so we'll be covering. We'll have those interviews with Tanya and Sarah Lee, and also we'll cover a little bit of college football for you. This episode of Pints of Politics is brought to you by Comer Distributing. Comer Distributing Company is a wholesale beer distributor located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Founded in 1971, Comer is a family-owned business that distributes beer and other beverages to York, Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Kershaw, Lexington, and Richland counties.
All right, welcome back.
Another episode of Pints of Politics.
Second one today.
Right. And this is the segment that we promised our 2 listeners earlier is, yeah, you'll get used to it. We wanted to bring on some folks who are our go-tos when it comes to issues like parental rights and privacy and those types of things. And as we've talked about on this podcast before, when it comes to privacy of girls' bathrooms and boys' bathrooms and even girls' locker rooms, right? This affected me a year or so ago at a high school my daughter was going to. She didn't feel comfortable using the bathroom because we had someone who identified as an opposite gender of their biological sex and caused some issues for my daughter. And through that process, in talking with our guests, got some language, got a proviso in the budget a few years ago to address those issues. And that's how it affected us locally. But let's go ahead and introduce our guests.
Yes.
Tanya Shellnut,
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
And Sarah Beth Nolan, welcome. Y'all
Thank you.
briefly give us an introduction of what y'all do, the group, and what y'all do.
Sure. So I'll start and I'll say that I'm a constituent
That's
of
right.
yours. So Rock Hill girl. So I'm the Senior State Government Relations Director for ADF. So I oversee all of the United States government relations. I just happen to live here in South Carolina. I have a team of 5 under me. And so very thankful.
Just a quick question. Is ADF, are they considered lobbyists or is it more of the legal?
Yeah, and so no. So Alliance Defending Freedom is a litigation organization. I work for the sister arm, which is ADF Action. So I I do work for both, but in my capacity at the State House, I am in the action role. But Alliance Defending Freedom has been around for 35 years. We have over 400 employees. We're international. We have offices at the UN, Washington, D.C.
Help with many of the lawsuits.
That's right. And so we've been at the Supreme Court 16 times in the last 10 years as lead counsel. And Sarah Beth is going to talk about it, but we're getting ready to litigate at the Supreme Court a couple of the women's sports cases.
And I just wanted to bring that up, or just to point it out, because that was one of the things that I was shocked whenever I came into the State House. I was thinking lobbyist is a horrible person. And then I learned about every issue, there's a lobbyist on each side that you go to, and they are the experts. And then which is why we're bringing you on, because y'all have the most knowledge.
Right. And there's also policy groups that serve as basically references, right?
That's where I want to be.
There are
I want
our
to be in that
resource
camp.
for yeah.
I don't want to be a lobbyist.
Now sometimes it can be
I don't want to be a politician.
and that's the unique thing about what I think you and I learned when we first got there, because we didn't want to go into the lobby, right? It was but then the more folks that we got introduced to, they were more of our go-tos on certain issues. And this is what we found in the Alliance Defending Freedom and then their action is that there's certain issues that they are passionate about. And anytime things like this come up, I know for me, just on that bathroom issue, went out and found Tanya, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I already have all the." I was like, "Yes."
I used to come out and grab Mitch Prosser,
Yeah.
with Palmetto, and be like, "Okay, who can I talk to about this
Yeah,
issue?" And he'd be
right.
like, "Oh, this is the person that knows this.
that's
This
right.
is the person that knows this."
So Tanya, you are a local Rock Hillian,
I am.
and Sarah Beth, why don't you go ahead and tell us you are from the Atlanta area?
I'm from North Georgia, close to Atlanta.
Okay.
I work out of our Atlanta office now, and I work for ADF, the legal side. We have a whole team of public policy attorneys, and we each specialize in a different area of the law. And so the privacy issue is one of the First Amendment issues that I focus on, and has been hot as of late. And
Right.
Thanks to Heath's proviso.
There was a lot of, I always say politics is a team sport, and that was a lot. There's a lot of folks who I just happened to share or was impacted personally. I got passionate that day and found the right people.
Yeah.
I know our friend Senator Clymer, there's plenty other folks, Tanya, you know them too, in the legislature, on the House side especially, that were advocates for
I got a
gun
phone
rights.
call from a local official at that time, said, "Hey, why are you scared to speak up on this?" I was like, "Look, I ain't scared. I was asked to stay out of this. Let them handle it their way before I start running my mouth."
Oh, that's right. Because just to give folks a little context and y'all too, when all this was going on, we had already passed our budget, and it was getting close. At that time, we had a crossover, and any new legislation didn't have time to get through the committee process. Correct. And so that's when I said, okay, the next best thing is a proviso, and that's when I run out to find Tanya. She already had language. I'm like, this is easy.
That Sarah Beth wrote. Yeah.
And so, folks, that's a behind the scenes of how a bill becomes a proviso.
Well, and at the same time, the reason that it didn't come up this year is because of legal challenge. There's no reason to pass a bill that we already have in the proviso if or until we actually understand what the legal ramifications will be and
a lot
what
of times,
needs to be changed.
And a lot of times we do find that on some of these social issues, they are always we can count on, especially when the national administration is on the other side of the aisle, it's going to get challenged in federal court. And so if y'all want to talk about what recently happened in the Fourth Circuit and how that impacted Berkeley County, and then how is that?
Right. And I think we definitely want to hit into the bigger picture, the strategy, right? Because I think it's really important for your listeners to know that when we're working to pass legislation, there's an end goal in mind. It isn't about, oh, this just sounds good and this is a great idea. On these issues, there's just not a lot of case law on, biological men, taking over women's sports or. So we want to make sure when we're writing legislation that it's legally defensible.
So this doesn't go back to the biblical times like some of our leftist friends like to claim.
And so that it's constitutional. So we're very intentional when we're looking at legislation, what we put into it. And so it matters. In this situation, and I'll let Sarah Beth get to it, but we have a bad ruling in the Fourth Circuit, but we have some good rulings in the Ninth and the 11th Circuit. So we do want to pass permanent protections, not a budget proviso, because that does help us with the end game of getting to the Supreme Court. And I'll kick it over to you, to Sarah Beth, to kind of unpack all of that and the budget proviso versus a permanent law and the AG's news that came down and all that good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces. Like Tanya said, with a lot of these issues, there are founding principles, and then the case law develops as we go, and there's not a lot to go off of. And so when we're looking at the legislation, it's a lot of times starts with one state, and it's the very first of its kind, and we try to make it principled, and then it kind of develops over time. And this area has developed enough where we have a lot of good rulings and a lot of several circuits, just not the Fourth Circuit. And so there's
Surprise.
sorry, y'all. And so as things stand now for the state, the budget proviso was challenged. There was a suit filed, and there is an injunction or a pause just for that one student in that one school.
It doesn't apply to anybody else, just the one student and the one school.
Is that typical? Have you seen that before?
Sometimes they'll do it just
Only
to...
in the legislature.
I mean, as a non-legal, as a non-attorney, that just sounds pretty atypical for me that a court would come down and say, hey, for that one child is a set of rules, and the rest of the state, you're good.
I think there's a lot of reasons, I think, for that. Sometimes they'll do it, but I think that they're also waiting to see, number one, how rulings at the Supreme Court are going to impact policy, and upcoming cases that are coming to the court that they'll hear in the spring, and how they'll rule on those coming down. So as of now, the proviso is active across the state, but not for that school, because that student can still use the opposite sex facilities. And so what we're looking at now is once the proviso sunsets, there will be nothing on the books in the state. So it'll sunset with the budget, and then it'll become a free-for-all again.
And it's preferable, I know, just speaking as a dad, to have a stable, consistent foundation for girls go to girls' bathrooms, boys go to boys' bathrooms. You know what I mean? Just for me personally, even when we're at the legislature, it'd be good to know that when my future generations are coming up, they know that. And again, this type of debate, the social sort of discussion that we're having, it makes me wonder. I think we're going to start seeing schools be designed differently. I really do, because
More unisex.
No. Single door.
All right. That's the way it is in D.C.
The way the old schools or the way the current schools that we now are building have a single entrance, and there's 8 stalls, 10 stalls, whatever it is. And to be honest, there's a lot of trouble that can go on in there.
Yeah.
Not to mention
That's what I was going to
this
say.
issue
You
that we're
could
talking
tell
about.
your girlfriend, like, hey, meet me in the bathroom.
I think school designs are going to
No.
go to single door, open and close, one stall type of deal, to avoid some of these issues that we're running into, because you're having these gender identity social issues coming up that now impacts just folks trying to do normal things, go to the bathroom, fix their hair, like Guffey would do.
Yeah. No, I think whenever I was in D.C. for that Project Liberty event, we had the person rush the stage, and it was Nancy Mace up there. Her response was, "Keep your balls out of my stalls." And that was short, sweet, simple.
To
quote.
quote.
Just like, hey.
To quote.
To quote.
That does sound like our Congress lady from the first.
We're getting derailed.
Yeah, sorry. But didn't realize it was that big of an issue.
Right.
Hit home with your daughter. Not just your daughter, my constituents that started calling me about the Rock Hill High situation.
Yeah, and I was telling Brandon earlier, I started a Lady Trojans Pursuing Excellence Club at Northwestern High School, because we want to make sure that women and girls have every opportunity to excel, right? And I can't imagine in working with them, and many of them come from very fractured homes, and they just need somebody to stand beside them and support them and tell them, your privacy doesn't matter. I'm sorry.
Right.
And that's heartbreaking to me, because we need to continue to, unfortunately, it's just unfortunate that this is the way it is, but one girl is one girl too many. Mm-hmm. And we've got to protect our future generations. And it is just the time and where God has us, and we've got to do this. But it's important. And it's not fun to go into these conversations and have these conversations. But if you would have told me in 2015 that we would be like having to fight to protect girls' spaces and sports,
100%,
I would have said, you are so crazy, like so crazy.
We say
I think
that.
Nikki Haley said that whenever she was governor, and it came up as an issue, and she was just like, this is not something that we need. It's just common sense. Why
Right.
would we need this?
Right, and that's one thing that ADF really prides itself on is trying to be out on the forefront and projecting these harms that are coming down the pike. And again, not because it's something that we even want to be having to believe is an issue, but it is. And so what do we do to protect our young girls and our women to make sure that they are safe? Because the reality is that we live in a culture right now that is extremely confused about what that looks like.
Right.
Well, and let's be honest, there's no parent on the planet that would look at their daughter and tell her, even though it makes you uncomfortable to expose yourself to a man against your will and be exposed to him against your will, you need to be quiet about it. And that's what we say about
There's
it.
plenty of those parents that advocate for adult material in libraries that I feel like they might be that type.
But why
just
are
so
we,
they can
why,
make someone else feel included.
But why are we telling young girls to be quiet?
Yeah.
Like, why are we
Yeah,
telling them? Why?
So let's talk about that.
I mean,
a little
that used
bit.
to be the left fight was all about, trying to ensure there's no silence of speech. And what's the group that would sue? It was ACLU used to sue about every little thing.
Yeah.
They felt like it was infringing. And now that's become the right fight, it seems like, because the left is trying to stomp on other people's rights.
Well, and I will say a lot of 19 states already have this legislation permanent on the books.
Any in the
And-
fourth?
Well, they're working on it. One of the things that a lot of them do is accommodate students who may feel uncomfortable using the big multi-user restroom or locker room
Right.
for their sex, that they can use a single user. And so it really is something that respects all the students across the school. It takes into account that there are going to be cases for whatever reason that you wouldn't want to, and does accommodate them. And so when you look at a policy, it really is for the preservation of all the students.
Are you seeing that being successful in this legislation, making sure, and again, legal language, just making sure, as long as there's equal accommodation, is that what you're seeing is finding success across the country? Maybe not just in the fourth, but.
Well, in a lot of states, this hasn't been challenged at all.
Okay.
And so it's been a successful, as far as the legal challenges, it's been successful. I mean, we have gotten great rulings in a lot of federal courts on this, even in the Ninth Circuit, which, you're not really sure sometimes how the courts are going to rule, but they came out very strong that this was constitutionally sound.
Okay.
And the 11th Circuit.
So anything latest, any breaking news, like what's next in this, since this Fourth Circuit ruling? Has there been any activity or any updates since that ruling?
Yes. So since, as of this morning, the AG's office here has filed for an emergency stay with the Supreme Court. And that would allow for the policy to be active, even in that school, that there's a pause for, as this is being worked out through the litigation process. But the state can still pass a bill that is permanent as that's coming down. And so that's where we are.
Are we worried about any of the language? Like, do you think there's any hold up in the language of the proviso? Because I know whenever we go back to the heartbeat bill, there was just little changes. Same thing with school choice.
Correct.
Little changes on the language.
It was like a rough draft. The Supreme Court
Yeah.
gave us a dissenting opinion that, hey, this is the path forward legally.
Let's wait on the
We
Fourth Circuit to tell us what's
incorporated
wrong.
that into a law, and now we have school choice. We have an abortion ban to 6 weeks.
I want to be in Florida Circuit.
Right. So yeah, where do we go from here? I mean, is it as easy as Brandon and I go down, have some hearings in our respective committees, get it to the floor, pass it, have the governor, have Wes over there in the Senate pass it, or lead the charge over there, get it to the governor's desk and sign it, to where we have now that legal foundation to which all other decisions can be made?
Right. The proviso itself, passing a bill to make that permanent is important if that is the policy that
Yeah.
you want to see in the state. And you wouldn't want the proviso to run out and then you run out of time and then you have this lapse before you're able to pass something where those girls are left out in the open, and for them that's half of their middle school career, half of their high school career,
Well,
and whatnot.
Let's be honest. The problem, I really wish we could get rid of a lot of the provisos that we have, because it's not a way to write law.
Correct.
But every year they just renew.
Well, and the budget proviso is strong, and it could be even stronger. I mean, it covers some spaces, but it doesn't cover overnight stays for the girls who are on field trips or travel for sports.
Yeah, tell them about that case. That's a great one. Tell them about the Colorado situation.
Yeah, we have a client going through litigation right now who they sent their daughter away, her first big trip away from home, to DC for a field trip, and they get a call first night away that she has been assigned a bed with a male. And no parental consent, and
I wouldn't have told my mama.
Goes to chaperones, and they really tell her, you don't want to make a scene about this, and is it that big of a deal? And so thankfully her parents were able to step in, but no parental consent, and got her away from home. And so then when we're looking at legislation, it's like, well, we really need to include overnight situations where they travel for sports or field trips or whatnot.
You bring up an interesting component to all this, and that is the social pressures that teenagers feel. Because I know, when I was 15, 16 growing up, I was running into all that. Now raising a daughter who's a junior in high school, same thing. But I've told her, I was like, look, anytime something like that happens, how you're raised in this house. Look, if you can't get someone or convince someone to change whatever's making you feel uncomfortable, just leave the situation, right? Call us and we'll figure something out. And because that's what it takes, just one, right? And so this all, I think, came to the national sort of spotlight with the swimmer. Riley Gaines, right? And the Leah Thomas stuff, all that. And that's when I think we all saw what I would consider absurd, right? Just the ridiculous really come to. I'm like, wait a minute, the NCAA is really going to allow a biological man, to race against women, right?
My thought was, because I used to get mad whenever I was in high school, and I would say, oh, well, that female athlete is not nearly the athlete that I am, but yeah, she can get a scholarship. And it's like, man, this is wrong. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now you're pulling away the scholarships for the females that work so hard to get to where they are. Like, that would tick me off tick me off, and I don't even have a daughter.
Well, I have a daughter that played college on a softball scholarship and a basketball scholarship. And, we were very blessed that she was able to have that opportunity, but it quickly could have been taken away from her because...
If she was brought up now.
That's right.
Yeah, right. And so that Leah Thomas, Riley Gaines episode, for me, it sparked, my knowledge of this and seeing it in social media a lot. Riley Gaines has gone on to take up this, this banner of protecting women's sports.
Well, and that's part of her story, right? Is that it was the competing, but it was also that those girls were left to share a locker room with him.
Correct.
And they, to hear her tell it, she's, waiting for any adult, any coach to come in there and take care of the situation. Nobody did.
Right.
And so they're so interconnected in kind of how they move forward.
Absolutely. And I remember seeing that, and I remember talking to my wife and my daughter, saying, it only takes all of those women who are competitive swimmers to not participate, to walk away. Like I told my daughter, look, just if you're in something, just get out of the situation. But then I was like, well, that's not fair to those women.
Because then they feel like they're going to lose their scholarship.
Yep.
Well, and on scholarships, they, some of the girls, there's a lot of conversation around, well, why don't they just go to the media and share their story? And we're talking about really young girls, teenagers. And, if you're giving them an option between sharing their locker room, what are they going to do? And for some of the families, they're like, sports is the only way that we're going to be able to get our daughter
to get a higher education.
To college.
Yep, that's right.
And otherwise, she's going to sacrifice her whole future. That's right. And
you heard some of the stories come out from the UPenn team, right? Some of those girls have now come out and spoken out about the pressures that the administration of the college put on them to silence them.
Well, I mean, we have it in society.
Yeah.
I mean, you look how subtle. I don't want to say peer pressure, just societal.
It's just the social pressure.
It's
Yeah.
the people that lack the courage that stand up and actually say something sometimes.
Yeah.
And my question is, and why we brought permanent legislation. So Clymer Senate Bill 199 and Tommy Pope has 3263.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, what are we telling the girls as to why we can't get it across the finish line?
I think, and my personal opinion is, if something is in the proviso and you're waiting for a court hearing, the agenda's set whenever we come in as caucus for the session. And every caucus has their own agenda on there. But I personally feel like if something is being handled right now with the proviso, then we're waiting on the court ruling, and then you move it forward to ensure that you're not wasting time on the bill. I mean, how long did it take us to pass a heartbeat bill?
Oh, yeah.
Well, right.
And we pass it and then it gets rejected again.
Right.
And yet we wasted 2 months. I mean, it took us, 14 weeks for the insurance reform.
But Tanya, to your point, that's a...
And I think Clymer should be able to lead it with him having the proviso.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we talk about this a lot as legislators, and a lot of times during session we can get myopic, so it's good to get these questions to say, hey, guys, because what we've talked about this a lot as legislators. We can get 4 big things done a session collectively to get 124 House reps, 46 senators to all focus.
Those are the 4 big things.
Right.
That's the farce.
Yeah, and
we need the
this
little
is-
trees to squeeze
but
in
this
there.
is a 90-10 issue.
100%.
If you look at what the GOP spent the last election cycle, they spent $165 million on this issue alone.
I totally agree. I literally think it needs to get out of committee and get to the floor.
The Wall Street Journal dubbed this as the sleeper
Which committee is
issue.
it in?
Judiciary, right?
Judiciary on the House side and Education on the Senate side.
Yeah.
And I think we probably need to clarify a little bit. And sorry, Beth, hopefully you can talk about this, about the budget proviso versus the permanent language. And do we need to wait on the budget proviso, or are we in a place where if we pass the permanent language, what does that set us up for? Because that big picture, with the splits in the circuit. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, you can pass a bill now. And because the budget proviso is narrow, and nothing is stopping a bill now. And if anything, if you wait on it, there will be a huge time lapse. And so what we're seeing is the court ruled on SCRMETI, which is the dinner procedure for minors, this past session, and that was
our
really
help, not harm.
really strong.
And that was in
decision.
Tennessee, right?
That's right.
Yes, and that we're not sure how that's going to trickle down. That's going to affect a lot of policy. But we're also going to see the women's sports cases. And so what you would hope is that you have strong legislation on the books as the Supreme Court is ruling on these issues.
Does that give us kind of
I was going to say the same
precedent?
thing.
That's right.
I actually think the model of help not harm, as we got it through South Carolina, we had already passed it. So when SCRMETI came down, it literally just reaffirmed
That's correct.
the
That's
policy.
exactly
This is
right.
what the
You
people
got
want.
it exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And so let's go back to the Leah Thomas, Riley Gaines stuff.
Yeah.
What I saw an evolution of empowerment of women from what happened with Leah Thomas and Riley Gaines to last year. We talked about it on this podcast a lot. There was a Nevada team, volleyball team out west that stopped participating. Now, again, I think that it's not fair at all, but it showed that those women, that team said, we're not participating in the farce anymore. We're not going to play a volleyball team. I think it was like San Jose or New Mexico, somebody. We're not going to play a team with a man. And they stopped it. And I found it just, it really made me feel really good that those women stood on that principle, sacrificed their collegiate athletics to say, this is wrong in every way possible, and we're not going to participate anymore. And then you started seeing the NCAA start backing away from them promoting this stuff.
And I think that's a great thing when you look at hearings too. When you look at the young girls that come and the women that come to to testify, it's so powerful. And I think that it's great that they are brave enough to step forward and say, this really impacts my life.
Right.
And I want to share how that impacts me. And so it only takes one person or a couple to be really brave and come forward and share how it impacts them. And so I always encourage girls that, they should come to the State House and, share their stories.
Whenever I was working on the Take It Down app, it's the two teenage girls that were brave enough. They were far better than any of the politicians giving their story.
That's right.
Yeah.
And how it affected them. They are the ones who made the
Yeah.
difference.
We're just tools for that to get to legislation and,
Right.
and provide the foundation that then will protect folks in the future.
But,
Well,
but
and
we
I-
as legislators need those voices.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say that's what, you asked about language earlier. You really want the language not to be just performative. And sometimes it can get stripped out through the process and you
Right.
have something that's there, but it doesn't really make an impact on the girls. And so that's what's great about some of the bills you have in the hopper is that they have teeth to them. They will make an impact. These girls have a way to recover in the courts if they get put in a bad situation. And so I think that's important too, that there's a lot of conversation like high level and it gets turned into a culture war issue. And then you bring it back down to all the families and,
Yeah,
and
just
the
common
daughters.
sense.
And,
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so you brought up an interesting point whenever you said that about the bill having teeth. And I faced that whenever me and Heath, down to the Statesman Academy, to work on the Help Not Harm bill. It was me, you, David Vaughn, Melissa Remus, and Mike Rickenbach from South Carolina. And as we went down there, essentially the entire week was to work on that bill. And whenever we got it back, of course, the bills, I don't even know who was the sponsor.
Mark
on it in
Smith.
South Carolina. Mark Smith.
'Cause it
But
came
was
from
someone that
medical
could
side.
actually get it done.
Yeah.
Right? So, but we were very well educated on it. So as it started coming to the floor, the argument that I would hear is it doesn't have teeth in it. And the problem is nowhere in our code of law does it state if you're not licensed to do something and then you do it, that this is the penalty. And then the problem, and you can answer this that from the legal perspective, once you set that precedent and then someone does something else that they're not licensed to do, well, they didn't state what the penalty is for that. So that became an argument on the floor, and I remember sitting with members because I was texting the AG while we're sitting there on the floor and saying, hey, is this true?
Well, some
And
of
it's
it is
wrong.
loss of licensure, right? So if you're
But that standard, if you do something outside your license, you're going to lose your license.
that is correct.
Especially if it's breaking the law.
Yeah. But as far as rising to a level of criminal,
Sure. And penalties can come in
many
a
forms.
variety of forms, right? Whether that's a private cause of action,
I tell my daughter that all the time.
and she's 16, but yeah, it can come in criminal. It can come in a funding cut, which you see in some of the privacy legislation that y'all have waiting. So it depends on what it is. But when you leave it without anything, it becomes something that, especially in the areas that we work in, it makes it way more difficult for those families if they have,
Right.
their speech violated or something like that to be able to recover.
Well, in the argument that I was having on the floor and what I was told, and there was one Democrat attorney that loves to sue, was loving it whenever a certain member got up and proposed to make it a violent misdemeanor if you castrate a child, 10-year or loss of license and a $10,000 fine, because under the code of law, it would have been a 25-year
They were making
penalty.
it a less of a.
And it said they were loving it that the argument even happened, because now if a doctor does it, they've got the argument to say, hey, this was discussed. So it's up to 25 here. Even the furthest right said it should only be up to 1 year. So why would you give someone a 25-year sentence? And that's what was infuriating me during the whole process. And then I think Riley Gaines posted whenever we voted against that violent misdemeanor, which didn't exist. 63 rhinos chose not to punish doctors for castrating
This
children.
is the anecdotal situation where you do not get in the middle of something until, you know what I mean? Because we were debating that issue. I mean, Tanya, you
Yeah,
were
but I
there.
didn't know defense attorneys use what we say on the floor in their cases.
Oh, as far as intent.
As far as
legislative
the
intent.
discussion.
Yeah, right.
I never realized that.
Yeah,
until that case happened. Because they were
and
just
again,
laughing, and I walked in the back, and I'm going outside because I get ill. I got to go smoke a cigarette. I got to get
reason
out.
number 491.
And as I'm walking by,
you
and
let
they're
the
like,
debate.
"Hey, man, whenever a doctor does it, now I'm gonna be able to get that sentence reduced,
Yeah.
just because of this argument."
But it works to your advantage, right? To build that legislative record as you're going through the process for something that you're carrying, and you want that record to be strong, and you want all of that testimony to be there.
You're bringing up a bunch of old memories for me, because I forgot it was Help Not Harm that Riley Gaines got on Twitter and started firing off stuff.
Yeah.
And again, I don't sit at my desk and have social media on.
I don't
So-
either, but every member texts me as soon as something pops up.
That is true. It wasn't
I'm the one that will
until
mouth off.
it wasn't until after the fact, or I think a member brought it up to me.
I mean, we were desk mates at the time.
Yeah,
we were sitting beside
and
each
they
other.
were like, "Oh, did you just brought up the Riley Gaines tweet?" And I was like, "What? Why would she be tweeting about what we're But I mean, that's the world we're living in. I mean, we're talking about this whole issue of.
Well, I
women.
think it's such a. I mean, I'm not speaking for her, but right, it's like such a personal issue because
100%.
of what's happened to her, and to kind of circle back to the whole private cause of action and making, the girls whole. That's important, because if they don't have an opportunity to be made whole, then what is the purpose of it?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and I do the same thing. I mean, my focus is trying to protect kids online, giving parental rights online. So whenever, even somebody I agree with most of the time, and I'll use the example of Ted Cruz with the AI moratorium. I mean, I was just working with him on Take It Down. All of a sudden, he's pushing this AI moratorium, and then I'm bad-mouthing him before I could even have the conversation on why do you think this is important. So I think that's just, like you said, with Riley Gaines, that's a very personal issue, and so she's going to jump right on it.
Well, and you also got to
The
think.
only reason I brought that up is because of the teeth.
Well,
because I hear
yeah.
that often is, it doesn't
Yeah.
have teeth.
Right.
Well, and a lot of times that in that discussion, it's, well, are we going to open the floodgates to litigation? Is there going to be tons of litigation? And we don't see that.
I don't
with
care about
privacy
the slippery
issue.
slope.
We don't see that with sports. There is litigation, but we don't see an overwhelming amount.
But you have to realize half of our legislature is made up of attorneys, so they like that. You're going to see a
They wanna have
floodgate of litigation.
Right.
So
We also were told that we're going to send people to jail for Calvin Hobbes peeing on a Chevy. load
Yeah,
this
that
year.
sticker. Yeah.
So the fact is that it is sometimes it's an excuse for people not to do the thing that needs to be done.
A lot of it is theater, and we learned that.
the straw man.
And look, I love having discussions with Justin Vanberg out on the back porch about stuff. But whenever he gets up there to talk, I'm walking outside to smoke a cigarette. I know I got 10 minutes at least, because he's going to talk the entire time.
I tell you, we enjoy Justin Vanberg's one, Jermaine Johnson too.
Yeah.
I mean, we can disagree on a lot,
100%.
but love those guys on a personal level, because they're fighting for what they believe is right. They're fighting for their people back home.
That's what we need is a mic on the back porch whenever we step out, and the way that we argue out there. But it's funny, because you will realize that some people, they are focused on trying to represent their constituency, but it's not necessarily their beliefs.
Right.
Whenever they start arguing, some people, it is their beliefs, and you don't.
It's not their constituency.
But it might not be their constituency. But what you do, just like we were talking before we started, you start to know someone's heart and what their true intent is.
Right.
And I've very rarely met many within the General Assembly that I feel like their heart is impure.
Sure.
Do they exist? Yes, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I think people are wanting a solution. It's just whether they're educated enough or put in the work to get to this.
Well, and you look at the privacy issue, it's a 90-10 issue, right? And
Yeah.
I don't want them to be on the wrong side of history on this. Like, your people do really want to protect women and girls.
And this is a great opportunity for us as legislators, like as Tanya's saying, those 90-10 issues, those 80-20 issues, all day long.
Yeah.
I
They
love,
should be quick.
I enjoy the medical side, because a lot of the issues that I'm passionate about and want to fight for and advocate for are those 80, 20, 90, 10 issues. Trying to protect patients, trying to protect small business owners against corporate sort of healthcare. That's why PBMs, fighting for the little guy, those types of things. So,
A lot of our bills get based on, by taking vote within the caucus to even see whether we have enough to push it forward, or who really thinks this is a top priority.
right.
And I think that as we do our caucus retreat, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I think that would be something that could be brought up, and I don't know where the Senate would stand on it, but I would think
We've been talking about the medical side.
If Tommy's got a bill, Wes has got a bill, I don't foresee any reason to not.
So, do you want to talk about that at all?
Sure, we can talk about that.
So, this was an idea that then got split, right, on the House side. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We're going to move into parental rights a little bit.
Okay.
So we had Senator, let's start from the very beginning. Senator Tim Scott had the Families' Rights and Responsibilities Act, which Alliance Defending Freedom helped him with that. And it's a very robust bill that covers educational, medical decision-making for parental rights and elevates parental rights to the highest level, the fundamental. And so we wanted to bring that here to South Carolina, but in speaking with leadership, they felt like that was going to be difficult to run through certain committees. So they said, let's split it up. So we have...
Someone would name it unconstitutional if not.
Right. So
Single subject.
we're splitting. We have it split up in the medical parental rights focus, and then we have the educational parental rights focus. So the educational bill is House Bill 3011, authored by Tommy Pope and Shannon Erickson's. And we really tried to take the lessons, not from last year, but from the year before, when they had the education bill that died in the Senate.
Right.
And we tried to take some of the nuggets from that and really meet everybody where they were with that. So we have that 3011. And then over here, we have the medical parental rights bill, 3638. That is Mark Smith's, which going into this coming session is going to be his third year bringing this bill. Okay, so
Was he chair of medical?
And this deals with amending Title 63, I believe.
yes, there's some, because what we're seeing, there's many parts to it, but one of the main things that we're seeing is that children from anywhere from 14, on up to 18, not even 18, it's really 14 to 16. Where like MUSC, for example, if you're a parent and you want to look, and your daughter's 15 years old, and you want to look at have access to her medical records, well, Novant, MUSC is 16, but they're saying, no, your daughter has to give permission to us for you to access your records.
We've had that argument before.
Fascinating. So I had a story that is relatable to this, where a young girl had medical issue, and because the parents wanted her to do one thing, whether it's therapy or something, because she was over the age of 13, was like, no, I'm good. And that basically prevailed. And the school district's like, we can't have her pulled out of class to talk to a counselor if she doesn't want to. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
And again, these are personal, sensitive issues. I get all that. But I do think that the parent should be the parent.
Right. Well, and what we're seeing, the other part of this is the school component of it. We're very blessed. South Carolina has a great superintendent of schools. You had her on here. But there are states, 6 specifically, that we're in active litigation in right now. Texas specifically, where the schools have gone on to socially transition their children without the parents' consent. We have the Cross family. Sarah Beth, tell them about the Cross family. It is heartbreaking to me what they've done to her.
Yeah, we've got several clients that have had this issue where they send their kids off to school and have no idea what's going on. And even when they come to school administrators, they can't tell them what's going on, or they'll lie to them and tell them it's not going on when it is. And then you have your child, by the time you figure out, already way down a
Right.
road. And it's heartbreaking. But you always should have the right to access your child's records. And even on the medical side, being aware, but also being able to be involved in medical care for your child when they're a minor.
Right.
And so I run into this all the time because my daughter is 16, right? She can drive, she can hold a job if she wanted to. I run into this challenge a lot, and I always have to reach out to whether it's teachers, coaches, youth pastors, whatever it is. Hey, I'm her parent. I'm responsible for her to be where she needs to be at that time that you need her to be there. I didn't even know a single thing about this, or this. If you want her to be there on time and ready to go, you got to involve the parents. And again, this is just little stuff like FCA leadership. My daughter is part of the FCA at Rock Hill High, and she says, hey, I'm running late for an FCA leadership, and they get together like twice a month, which is great.
See, we're complete opposite.
My wife and I didn't even know about it. And so I text, hey, and we're friends. I'm like, hey, just a heads up. If you want my daughter there on time, can you please make us aware? Because again, this thing is a disruptor. It has disrupted lines of communication, the hierarchy of parent-child, a lot of these things. And I get it. We got to adapt as parents. We got to adapt as a community. But some of those basic old school stuff of hardline phones and a front door, now folks can access your children so many different ways. And this is a lot of times the open door to it.
Yeah.
And that's the education component of all these conversations that we're having on this podcast. When we talk about stuff like this, it's educating parents about the risks.
And see, I'm the one calling the school saying, remove me from your call list. Do not call me. If you want them there on time, I'm not the person that you need to. Please.
That reminds me of that Nate Bargatze skit where he answers the phone, the school calls him like, hey, your kid's sick, can you come pick her up? And he's like, you called the dad, right?
That's the way I have no clue, and I literally have the school number blocked.
Yeah.
So I have to clear out my messages about once a month. And there's 20 school messages.
Well, the whole bit ends with him saying, okay, I'll come pick her up. What's the name of the school?
That's about right.
And it is one of those things where you would hope that you could release a little bit, but in the world we live in and all that's going on, it's...
Well, and it is a major problem. I mean, as I travel around and I talk to schools, and I meet with so many kids that are having trouble. Just like whenever y'all pulled up and I was telling you, you was like, hey, cool bus. And I was explaining what it did. But I said, look, I'm not a mental health professional. My whole message is tomorrow needs you. I'm not one to sit there and counsel a kid. I don't know what the guidelines are or if even our school counselors are licensed therapists. But what I do know is like Rock Hill Schools has one person that handles multiple schools. I was able to trust, but I was not able to bring my son's therapist, my older son, the therapist that he was seeing, into the school. And that frustrated me. So I have been trying to work on that to allow therapists into the school of the parents choosing. But I would not want, at least the guidance counselors I grew up with, I wouldn't want my guidance counselor trying to truly give me guidance if it's not anything.
No, they
regarding my
and without
collegiate
without your
process.
parents' knowledge too, right? Like
Right.
we want to make sure that
That's what coaches are for.
we
Those were the adults that we leaned on.
Well-
Hey, coach, can you tell me this?
Well, and part of the parental rights struggle is that you would hope if your child starts to struggle that you're involved in that process,
That you should
so that
know.
it doesn't
Like
get
you're-
so
like
that
you're-
you know does my child need to see a
Yeah.
therapist? What can we do? And when a lot of our clients, those parents would have loved to be involved from the beginning, that their child has
Right.
some kind of crisis going on and they love their children, they want to be involved, and to shut them out like they're the bad guy entirely until you're in a real crisis, right, is a shame.
Yeah, and I would just say, really quickly, when I was talking earlier about how We bring legislation because of the things that we're seeing in our litigation. This is just part of that. We're seeing this happen in other states, and so we want to be proactive and make sure, yes, we do have a great superintendent of schools, and we are very family-centered in this state, but we also need to be strategic and make sure that we protect our future generations and be a shining light to other states. South Carolina has an F rating for parental rights. If you look at the map, which I have a map, I would be more than happy to share with you guys, that one of our parental rights attorneys has gone and looked at all of our surrounding states and graded the states on what the parental rights look like in each state. We're red. All the states around us are yellow. And look, we're meant to lead here. We have always prided ourselves on that. So why are we not leading on this? Why are we red? Can we not just get to yellow? Why can't we put some protections in place so that we can?
Can you give me an example of what legislation that another state in the fourth has passed that we have not?
Like North Carolina's
That would
yellow,
cause-
right?
West Virginia would be a good one. Yes, parental rights. West Virginia's
I
passed.
mean, but as far as the bill, what is that? Is that medical parental rights?
I don't quote me, but I do believe that our West Virginia bill had medical parental rights and the curriculum transparency in it.
So it was all inclusive as
Pretty-
opposed to
pretty
us trying
robust.
to separate.
Right. And look, that was the other reason for the separation, because we are very aware that we have a propensity to move slow and methodical, which is it's okay. But
Well, that's how we got here.
Right.
That's how the proviso came about, right? Was because
There's not enough time.
I was dealing with a personal
Yeah.
issue, and I was like, "There's no way legislation. I'm not waiting. We got to figure it out."
Well, and parental rights are fundamental rights.
Right.
Like the Supreme Court has said that time and time again. That's a foundational
Right.
issue. You have the freedom to raise your own children. They don't belong to the state. And so when we look at
Or a private company.
and so when we look at parental rights laws, you're reinforcing what has already always been there.
And I think that was when we went down to the conference in Florida. That's my stance too. Like DSS comes to hey, we got a complaint. Where's your warrant? You're not coming to my house. I'm not cooperating with you because that's just the way I am. It wasn't until we went down that conference my eyes were open to what was going on around the country.
Yeah.
Right. I think maybe South Carolina was, or maybe it was just me, was again had blinders on the way I sort of conduct my house. I always thought South Carolina was fine, right? No kidding, parental rights are way up there, right? But seeing some of the things that we see around the country, it's like, okay, safeguard makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
and I will say, from the opposite side, you have this issue with the schools maybe hiding this information from parents. But then we also see the reverse, where you have great teachers and great administrators, and they want to do the right thing by these children, and they're fired or they're
Oh, wow.
released.
How do we do that? 'Cause I have not been able to see a teacher get fired for doing something that we even
Yeah.
disagree. It's almost
Yeah.
like they have to touch a kid before we fire them. And even if that happens, that doesn't carry on to their next school.
Yeah, we have several clients right now that have been let go because they refused to participate in what would be a social changes and calling the
Teacher
child
clients.
by a different name or different pronouns. And when they asked to be accommodated,
That's
the
why I
schools
use
won't.
nicknames, buddy.
Well, and even
Hey, Shim, come here.
well, and what's hilarious, not so about that, we do have a client that
She's
asked,
laughing, by the way. She's laughing.
Yeah, I'm laughing. That asked, can I just call all the kids by their last names? It won't be noticeable. Can I just hands off? No, wasn't good enough. And so we see it from both sides of the spectrum, right?
Right.
You've got teachers that are like, I can't by my conscience do this. But then you've got great teachers that are lost their livelihood.
We have language for that at some point when we get there, just so
Yeah.
you know, we have language for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
I mean, if it's your legal name and it's a legal document, it didn't matter if I didn't want the teacher telling everybody my middle name.
Oh,
as
wow.
soon as I said, don't say that,
You know
that
what?
was the first thing they did.
So I've been talking with some of our family court judges, current and retired. Have y'all been seeing this nationwide? I'm just want to pick your brain while you're here. What I am hearing, and we have a bill that's been pre-filed that we need to get on. I'll give you the number. What they are seeing is that parents are petitioning so, you know, a little background on me. I was born Heath Hernandez. Dad wasn't part of my life. When I became 18, I took my mom's maiden name, so Heath Sessions, because she raised me, right? So I wanted to honor that. That part of the law, some parents in the state are petitioning in family court. They are using that language to change a birth certificate, but change the gender.
Correct.
And by circumventing laws that we're talking about, as long as...
Doesn't the health
Hold
care
on.
provider choose the
As long as they change, if they can get it through, if a family court judge says they can do it and change the M to an F, their biological or birth certificate gender would be, and then that's how they get around laws like this. Are you seeing that across the
one
country?
family court judge can change it.
Activist judge. Yes,
Yes.
correct.
As we got judicial elections come up, expect to hear that question.
Yes, we are seeing that.
Yes.
And it changing name and sex, and even in some states you can change your original birth certificate, so there is no
This is what
trace. And so
I got 3 kids with 3 different races. Can I go back and change that on my...
you can right now.
and it is a problem, because when you look at how other laws apply to them, you're looking at, you know,
Right.
how that's been changed. And so we have seen some states start to look at how do we accurately reflect documents.
Right.
Yeah.
And
How
I
do you
know
stop
that
problem?
Senator Verdon was working on a bill to protect that.
Yeah, Stephen Long is the lead sponsor on that bill. There's probably 6 to 8 co-sponsors.
I don't know what's
Send
going
it
on
to
in the
us
Senate
and
unless he
let
tells
Sarah
me.
Beth look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because and again, what that did for me is it made it apparent that there is an active movement to try to circumvent what I would consider is the values or the common sense of which I grew up in and what we want to keep this state, right? Because I want to give grace, right? I'm always like, oh, they're not. But then I get a call and I'm like, wait, say what? And yeah, there is petitions right now in our family court system in this state
We
of
see
parents
that.
trying to change the sex box.
And family court can override what we've got?
That issue goes to our family courts. Yeah, so when I changed my name to my mom's maiden name, I went before family court, you know, had to get a couple of witnesses, character witnesses. It was difficult. And,
Sure.
you know,
At that time, I know. I've heard stories of you at 18.
but yeah, I mean, there's things going on that folks, I mean, again, I'm just saying common folks who do not focus on government. This isn't their job.
Yeah.
They have no idea that there's these types of activities going on, but there are. And, you know, again, thank y'all for joining us. Thank y'all
Yes.
for what you do, because
you for
this
having
does
us.
bring these types of issues to the fore to where normal folks like me and
Well,
Guffey.
it's for education, like I said. Not all lobbyists, and you've never leveraged us one bit. It's always like, how can we explain this? How can I help you? And we might be walking through and you say, hey, Brandon, I need to talk to you about this.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to educate us on it.
Well, for the two
We also
listeners.
need to point out that they are drinking classic root beer.
That's right.
Root beer.
Well, before we move subjects, look, they got to tell me twice. They got to tell you about 3-4 times
yeah.
when it comes to the issues.
Along with your name and the introduction each time. That's the way it goes.
And y'all have so many different areas that you focus on. Like, I don't think that quite everybody understands how much y'all have on your plate. And it's our job to help you in the area that we cover understand, like, what is constitutionally sound, what can you do about some of these problems, what you can't do, and hopefully just be a support on this is what we're seeing in litigation, and this is what is strong and this is what's not.
100%.
Well, and like right now is a good time because we're about to go on to the caucus discussions. But as we start, what I tell people all the time, they call me and say, "Hey, can I sit down and talk to you about this?" I'm like, "Call me back in December.
Right.
Call me back in early January, whenever we're going into session. Because everything you tell me right now, by the time we get to December, January, I'm going to retain about 10% of it.
Right.
And then I'm going to have to call you back and do this meeting all over again. Let's wrap it up in one meeting.
Yep.
Where I can come in guns a-blazing with the information fresh on my mind.
Well, and again, just learning to run a subcommittee, right, is just one part of the process.
Don't hold a meeting, man.
No, I'm going to need you to have a meeting, especially on.
But yeah. So if I want to have a hearing on a bill, just the way I am, I want to understand it. I am not a person that, okay, that sounds good, and then I bring it up in committee, right?
It was easier whenever you sat beside me and I'd be like, "Hey, what does that mean?"
Cheating off his homework.
Yeah. But we talk about all of these issues, how the legally complex, the social sensitivities of them, all these things, and then you have 8 or 10 committees, and you got to narrow it down to 5 priorities, right? And that's where.
And then as soon as you get focused on one, you got some constituent calling you and saying, "You don't care about this."
Well, I'm just
trying to
thinking.
move
I'm
these
thinking
things.
collectively as the body, we've got to try to. It's literally trying to get all of this into a bottleneck.
I always tell people, find your champion.
Yeah.
If you can get somebody that is well respected within the body and you've got an issue, then you want to find that champion and let them push it and help them along the way with getting the co-sponsors and everything else. But that champion that believes it, like every parent that's lost a child always wants to talk to me because they think that I'm going to have, and the problem is I have too much empathy for it, but there's so many different ways to lose a child that I can't be a champion for everyone's cause.
Right.
So I have to focus on what I'm championing, but yet you can find somebody else that is a champion in a different way.
Right. Well, and
This is a 90-10, so you
That's
got good
right.
chances of finding
that's
any one
100%.
person
That's
that's a champion.
exactly
You already
it.
got some champions.
when you look at what makes sense, right, from your constituent standpoint. All right. Well, and then, when you look at it from the 90-10 perspective and your constituency and reelection, like this is a winning issue, right? Privacy and protecting women and girls, that's a winning issue. We know that the parental rights issue is running around the 70%. So it's ever since, COVID, especially on the parental rights thing, I mean, people are really wanting to make sure they're protected.
Totally agree. We joke around about a common sense caucus, in the House, and this falls
It's
right
called
in.
the porch caucus.
That issue falls right into it.
And privacy touches, y'all are looking at schools and public higher ed, and that's so important. But a lot of the other states, this touches so many other areas of public life. They've touched the prison system. Can you imagine? I mean, right, for those women.
I just want to put pedos in with the general public or population first.
Well, and domestic violence shelters, right?
Yeah.
And what they have been through, and putting males in their space after they've just fled
Right.
horrific situations. And so it's a good first start, but this does touch so many areas
Right.
of
Yeah,
public
so like
life.
last night, Texas just passed, it's got one more step, privacy, that covers the shelters, the correctional facilities, right?
Shelters,
Yes.
prisons.
Because we know that.
Why do we have to listen
Listen to this. 50% of the men that ask to be transferred to the women's prison, 50% are sexual predators. They have been convicted of sexual violence. 50%.
Because they don't want to be in the general population.
What's wild to me is that
You put a child...
there is, the system allows for it. Like, that is a no-brainer.
That's why we're going to eventually get there, and we're not going to allow for it.
Well, and we've seen in the it is so powerful to hear some former inmates talk about this, because they come to share their story and legislators say, "Oh, we have plenty of time, and we'll just push it off and we'll address it at some point," and they say, "You have no idea what it's like to share a cell with a man." Well, you don't and it is. I mean, imagine how much abuse.
A lot of them are going to look at it and say, "Well, you shouldn't be in a cell to begin with," but that is someone's daughter. that may have just made a mistake, that is serving their time. And I agree with that, but I still want to get the chomos in general population, and I think it would solve a lot of this problems.
Well, and that's a good point too. I mean, to what we talked about earlier, that testimony does bring us back, legislators back, because would you agree, we get a little desensitized?
Yeah, because you hear so much.
You do. And sometimes we do need a reminder.
And you can come off as, not caring. I have the problem with coming off confrontational sometimes. Just because whenever someone is
You
giving
do?
They just
whenever someone's giving
they
their
misread you, guys.
Yeah. But someone's giving their position, I always try to make sure that they're seeing the other side. And just by doing that, it's like, oh, they're for, I think that was, what was it? Tort reform.
Yeah.
Because I was just talking to a builder, and just because I said, well, yeah, but at the same time, you have these developers that are doing these things,
Right.
that are hiring illegals and not covering insurance, and that caused a problem. Next thing I know, it's like being spread, oh, well, he's against tort reform. Like, no, how many times have we talked about tort reform? Just look at it from all
You and the
sides.
lawyer legislators. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I mean, like you said, it's a nexus of it's got a lot of tentacles, right? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for
having
Thank
us.
you for
educating
Thank
our
you.
two listeners. In the off season, it might dip down to one.
Whenever
don't
we
know.
get this bill passed, we'll have to have you all back on.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
I know.
That would be really
I
fun.
say whenever
So-
but
Hey,
it's
no,
not
look,
our
it
bill,
is.
so we can have
No,
push.
it is everybody working together to make
Yeah.
it this. I mean, this is impacts the York County delegation. Like this, I'm the constituent here,
Yeah,
and
right.
I just happen to do what I do, and then it's the whole delegation. Like, let's get it done.
Yeah.
And I don't know anybody in the York County delegation that is opposed to it.
I don't think there's
Especially not
one.
within the Republican
No, not at all.
party.
No, like as you said before, it's a 90-10 issue.
Yes, that's right.
It's reaffirming things that we all already think is, set in stone anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and I try
as we
to
found,
these are the big meat issues. These are the things, like you said, that win you elections and everything else. And I always know out of 124, there's 115 that are going to focus on that. So I tend to let them kind of focus on that while I'm trying to figure out what I can squeeze through
yeah.
the cracks without getting picked up as quick.
Yeah. Well, Tanya, Sarah
Well,
Beth,
thank you.
thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
having
We'll
us.
have you back.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Check it out now.
All right, we're back, baby. College football is officially back this weekend. I tell you what, it couldn't happen on a better weekend either with college football, long Labor Day weekend. Man,
Yep.
this weather.
I didn't even realize Monday was Labor Day.
Well,
Until I looked and I was like, I got a schedule for this.
breaking news. Hey, so this is, last year we started talking about some football. You being a Clemson fan, me being a Carolina fan. This
Why
year
you want to
we
bring up old stuff?
17-14. This year we wanted to actually bring another facet to this conversation, and actually we're going to pick some games. And we thought that might be fun because we do have pre-filed legislation regarding online sports wagering. That's a new word for Guffey. And right now in South Carolina, we can't do it, right? I think we can recognize that there is a huge black market
Just a little bit.
of sports wagering that's been going on ever since I was a kid.
I mean,
And-
parlay cards don't count, right?
Exactly.
They're not online.
And there's also offshore international sites that folks can access through VPNs and whatnot and wager there. And so I think you and I both agree that online sports wagering probably is a reasonable thing we can do, that we can regulate the market, maybe put some consumer protections in there, but then also take advantage of the activity that is going on to fund vital operations of the state, right? And so, and again, while we're not big, huge, grow government tax people, but it is going on. We do have a state lottery, right?
Yeah.
And so for the principal fact of, what's that phrase you love to use about it's good for thee, but not for me? It's being consistent, right?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to, pass some reasonable legislation that would allow folks to wager on sports online.
We can't win the lottery. No. But if we could bet, we could actually win something.
So
Just kidding.
to that, we wanted to talk about some college football, and then we're going to make some picks. And we haven't figured out
early. We hadn't even seen the teams. Right?
I know. This is
very early.
It's a game of skill.
Yeah.
But all right, so first up, Saturday, noon kickoff. By the way, it's Lee Corso's final game day.
What?
Yeah, he's retiring.
So this is the final one or the final year?
Nope, this is the final one. He is doing this opening, and then that's his last one.
Wow.
So if you do enjoy College Game Day, I would encourage you to watch tomorrow or record it or whatever you got to do. There's probably going to be some touching send-offs to Lee Corso. I've already seen some online on Twitter yesterday, and man, I don't know him, but it brings some tears to your eyes when you see how he's impacted some folks. So definitely encourage you to watch College Game Day tomorrow to bring in the festivities of real college football. So at noon, we got Texas visiting Ohio State. We are going to pick with the spreads in mind. So Ohio State is favored by 3.5.
I'm taking Texas.
I'm going to take.
There's a Manning.
So it's Arch Manning in his season opening debut, going into the Horseshoe. So it is going to be an unfriendly environment. But Ohio State did lose a lot of players to the draft. I think they lost 14 players to the draft last
they're
year.
Stacked. Like they got the money to just keep paying players.
Yeah. So new QB at the helm.
They're the Alabama of the NIL.
I see this as being a lower scoring affair, but I definitely see Texas. I'm gonna take the 3.5 points in Texas as well.
Yeah.
So we agree there. Let's see the next game. Why don't we go to the LSU Clemson matchup? That is tomorrow
I'm taking
evening.
the Tigers.
That is prime time. I didn't even tell you what the spread was.
I don't even need it. The Tigers will win.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
Clemson.
Tigers will win that game.
So
guaranteed.
Clemson giving 14.5.
Yep. Tigers will win regardless.
Yeah, that's right.
Whether it's LSU or Clemson, Tigers will win.
No, so seriously, the line is Clemson is favored by 3.5 points. So Clemson is at home there. It is a night game, kicking off, I believe, at 7.
And where's it at?
It is at Memorial Stadium in Clemson.
Nice.
So
yeah, I'm taking Clemson.
Clemson is very strong at home. This is a coin flip for me because
That should be like a regional game.
Clemson's defense, looks pretty strong. Again, it looks like they have Klubnik's back.
We got the number one quarterback in the country.
Stop it. You have number one in your conference, maybe.
Hey, show us some love.
And your receivers always been a good receiver school. But on the other hand,
slacking a little bit here lately.
Yeah, LSU again, same thing. I mean, it's more of I see this should be a fun matchup.
Well, this is hopefully.
I mean, Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik are legit Heisman candidates, right?
Right, and the last time we were here was Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, and Clemson got embarrassed.
We know how that went.
And I am hoping that there will be a little bit of taste for revenge. And not to mention, look, you got LSU. They've got the fake Death Valley. We've got the real Death Valley. They just get drunk and call it Death Valley.
I saw something on Twitter that LSU named, never mind, I'm not even going to say it.
Named it after Clemson.
But all right, so you're going to take Clemson, giving the 3.5. I'm going to take LSU and take the 3.5 points. I'm thinking.
I mean, if you can't chant SEC, then what can you chant?
I'm actually thinking. I think Clemson wins this game. I just think it's closer than 3.5. I literally think it's going to be
3.
Yeah, a 31-28 game, and the half point puts me over. But I definitely see this being a really good game.
Who's keeping receipts on this?
And again, I am.
We need live callers. That's what we need.
And man, I really think this is gonna be a great game. I hope it's an offensive just shootout because those are always fun, man. Whoever has the ball last. Yeah.
Show up. I mean, if the crowd, all of you Death Valley fans, if y'all show up.
Oh yeah.
And show out. I hate night games at Clemson.
Why?
Just bad memories of Jameis Winston coming down there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
wearing us out.
Gotcha.
Like, y'all got to show up, show out, stay loud.
Yep.
Even if we're down, stay loud.
Well,
wreak havoc.
Speaking of Florida State, and
I mean, we don't have cool techno music, but we got some loud people.
Hey, don't hate. Next game. Man, Roll Tide is coming to Tallahassee. In Florida State. Hold on. Florida State is getting 13.5 points. So the only thing that's scary about this is Bama is going into a hostile environment, and it's the first game, right? Because there's no exhibition in college. How well-tuned will that offense be?
Do we even know what the team is that Florida State has? Because one year they got a national championship caliber team, and their third-string quarterback taking it in. The next year they
go
nobody.
2-10. Yeah. Yeah, correct.
I mean, you got to take Bama in that.
I'm going to take Bama.
But then again, Bama no longer has Sam.
New QB there too. Ooh. I know there's a lot of turnover, man. And
give me Florida State then.
All right, you're taking.
I'm going to take the ACC.
All right,
let's
I am going to take Bama, giving 13.5. So they got to beat him by 2 touchdowns.
They're going to probably beat them like a drum.
All right,
I'm hoping Florida State will show up.
So we agreed
Ron
on
DeSantis called your people, tell them to show up.
We agreed on Texas. We're on opposite sides on the LSU Clemson game, and we're on opposite. I'm going Bama. You're going Florida State. Fourth game. Catholics versus convicts, baby. Notre Dame going down to visit the Miami Hurricanes, who in the transfer portal got Carson Beck from Georgia. So Miami.
I mean, do you think Beck is that good?
Again, man, if he's got time to throw the ball, he is. But he's not a mobile guy.
I've said it from the beginning. Once they started the NIL, I don't know how anybody competes with Miami. With the amount of money down there, the atmosphere, like it becomes a hard school to turn down.
I can see the same thing from those Texas schools with some of that oil money endowment. Yeah,
but hey, you're not on the beach.
The Vegas line, I know. But the Vegas line here is the Hurricanes, the U is giving 2.5 to Notre Dame. Yeah. And again, this is another top 10 matchup.
I always think Notre Dame is overrated.
Okay, so I am going
They're kind of like every SEC team. They just get ranked high regardless.
I'm going to take Notre Dame in the points. I think Notre Dame wins this game outright.
I'm going with the U.
Okay, good
for my Cuban family. Hola, papi.
Last but not least, my Gamecocks giving 8.5 on a neutral site to Virginia Tech. You know, the Beamer family's got to be conflicted here. You know, Shane is the coach of
I'm still going Gamecocks
of South Carolina. All right, that's the one. All right, so
Virginia Tech has not been anything since Dante Hall and Michael Vick. So they can be good.
You know, and their linebacker, the captain of their defense, got a DWI this past Saturday, and they still have not decided if he's going to be
Virginia Tech.
Yeah, who's not going to be? I know it sounds like a Georgia football team.
I was thinking South Carolina.
You know. Well, or it sounds like a Clemson football team. Didn't y'all have a tight end? Yeah. Oh. Charges were dismissed.
Yeah, they were dismissed. He went to New Spring, invested his sins, all was forgiven.
There you go. So you and I agree there, too. I think South Carolina, we're going to take South Carolina.
I hope South Carolina makes a statement in that game.
Hey, look.
Not just wins. Yeah. I hope that they win decisively and make a statement to prove that they belong in the top 15. I do think Lenore Sellers is special.
Yeah, I do too.
He is, I think that he is the Deshaun Watson for this South Carolina program. Even the years whenever y'all were great, you still didn't have that quarterback. You had Garcia, which was awesome.
Connor Shaw.
No, Connor Shaw was one of the best leaders.
Yeah.
I would take him on my team anytime, but he didn't have the talent
that
Lenore Sellers has.
I agree. Yeah, so it's going to be a great.
You give me Lenora Sellers' talent with Connor Shaw's attitude.
Oh man, sky's the limit, man.
Yeah,
for sure. But all right, so we agree on Texas, South Carolina. We're on opposite sides, so plenty of room for me to go. 5-0.
We changed studio sessions and still can't get away from leaf blowers.
I tell you, man, you ain't kidding. But those are the picks for this week, folks. Hope y'all enjoy your college football. I know I am. Guffey, have a good weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day. And y'all, thanks for supporting the show and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Oh, we got to tell them where to log in and listen to, by the way.
Go ahead.
www.pintsandpolitics.show. Follow us on our social medias. Like our clips. Share the clips. If we lose listeners during the off season, which we did last year, then it hurts us and takes us a little bit longer to get started up. So just like and share, even with the clips. And we got to thank Comer Distributing.
Yep.
Once again.
For providing Jam Session Pale Ale. This is from No Dog Brewing Company. Thanks to Comer for supporting the show once again. And y'all be safe out there this weekend and enjoy your holiday. Bye-bye.
By their first name. Feels good to be around, but Hollywood is just a wish away.